We got some situations arising in the Big Ten right now. It's spring football. No one has all the answers, but I did want to look around the conference for just a couple of minutes right quick because some of you thought I was only going to do this for the SEC. No, no, no. I want to talk to you about Michigan, and I want to talk to you about the transfer portal class they just brought in. I know a lot of folks have been paying attention to other programs that go to the portal out of desperation. Well, Michigan, not desperate. They have very first-world desperation problems, like they lost Mozzie Smith, Mike Morris out the door. So yeah, we've got some holes to fill. They need a number 2 corner. I think they lost 2 corners or 2 DBs. So they've got some relative holes to fill. They're not glaring. They've got a lot of really, really good offensive firepower coming back. But what I'm interested in is they went to the portal a lot. They brought in 1, 2, 3, 4. They brought in 7 guys, I think. And a lot of those are going to be counted on to contribute immediately. I got to be honest, I didn't know until right now Jack Tuttle played for Michigan. I did not know that. So that's news even to me. That's a quarterback. So watch that this spring. Once Harbaugh's done with his community service, clearing roadways up there, and God bless him for it. How many of you would have done that, by the way? Which is exactly what he wants me to say. Once that's wrapped up and spring's wrapped up and we start getting a sense of how those portal pieces are falling into place, it's very, very much a margin of inches here and there, because this is a team that was best in the Big Ten 2 years in a row, but got to the playoff and couldn't get it done. And so you're not talking about wholesale changes. The next program I'm talking about, they're not talking about wholesale changes either. That's Ohio State. You got 2 of the lead dogs in the Big Ten, and you're looking for very, very slight course corrections that get them where they want to be. At Ohio State, it's clear as day. It's like Bama and Georgia. The biggest questions at these 3 programs are about the quarterback competition. Ryan Day has been on record and will continue to be on record as saying we got an open quarterback competition here. Kyle McCord's been there for a while, but Devin Brown's also in there. And while you know far less about Devin Brown, I firmly believe what they're saying when they say that's going to be an open quarterback competition. They've also, they've got a situation where nationally and especially regionally, you're going to hear a whole lot of people irresponsibly saying, oh, there's a gap now. There's a gap between Michigan and Ohio State. There's not. There have been 2 years in a row where Michigan won a football game. There were several years in a row where Ohio State won a football game. I know I'm diminishing the value of the game. I would never do that the week of. You guys know I've been there 2 years in a row. Life-changing experiences. I'm just saying for the sake of logical argument, there's not a big gap. It's just course correction that has to happen. And one of those is, if I were to have seen C.J. Stroud play the Michigan game like he played the Georgia game, who's to say that outcome would have been different? That's in the past. The spring is now. The past is past. The spring is now. What a quote. T-shirt idea. And so that open competition, keep an eye on that. At Penn State, get ready, Jesse. Jesse's got to sit down when I talk about Penn State. Very simple question here. It's not who's going to start at quarterback, but the simple question with Penn State is, what caliber of player do we get in Drew Aller at quarterback? Is he a guy, for example, that walks around and turns water into White Claw? Is he able to heal the sick and the blind, or is he merely a really good college quarterback? Because if he is the latter, a lot of the Jessies of the world are going to be disappointed, because there's a lot of stock being placed in Mr. Aller. I'm putting it in there too. I'm just saying, if he fails to live up to expectation, Jesse is my safety. Jesse is like a shield in the Drew Aller hype category that I hold in front of me until he succeeds, and then I toss Jesse to the side and I accept the praise. As I've told you before, and I'll tell you once more, all I ask for in life is a pack full of white T-shirts and all the praise and none of the blame. All that is free. And subscribe to the channel, please. Those 4 things are free. Like the video. That's the 5th free thing. Also, slightly lesser headline clickbaitish thing here. P.J. Mustipher in the middle of that defensive line, he's gone. So let's see what they do there. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse. No, don't. Just pretend I'm right. Dante Cephas, I don't think is in for the spring. So we won't be looking at the absolute full allotment of wide receiver and skill talent, but most of them are there. This is not a Penn State team that elsewhere has massive holes to fill, which is different, much different actually than we've said in years past. That's a team that had me and Brandon Walker agreeing the other day. That's the potential that Penn State has. Michigan State, 2 questions for you. I would be willing to bet you cannot answer these in totality in the spring. Are you going to play defense this year? Are you going to be able to run the ball this year? These are some awful numbers in front of me. They were 75th defensively in points per game last year. They were 103rd defensively in defensive yards per game. They cannot run the ball. It's been the most glaring standout inefficiency of Michigan State football. They were 110th in rush yards per game last year. Kenneth Walker came through there, I guess, 2 years ago now, and was great. Should have been a Heisman finalist, in my opinion. And then he leaves, and you think to yourself, well, it's like Gary Bertier. You cannot replace a Gary Bertier. You cannot replace a Kenneth Walker. They might as well not have had one in the backfield. Air would have done better than what Michigan State did at running back a majority of last year. And it's so hard to fathom when you watch that, because I think of Mel Tucker. Normally, the program reflects the head coach. And the 2 things, if I had to guess, of what Michigan State would do under Mel Tucker would be pound the rock, play good defense. And they did neither of them last year. So, have fun in spring with that. Lastly, 2 programs here to watch, obviously for the same reasons. Nebraska and Wisconsin, new head coaches. We got Matt Rule up there in Lincoln. He's got Jeff Sims to work with at quarterback. I am a little excited to watch the competition between he and Casey Thompson there. But also Wisconsin, Luke Fickell. I know this isn't breaking news anymore, but I still really don't think it has settled in how massive that hire was. And we were going back for some research purposes that we do this time of year, and we were reviewing some of what we said this time last year. It is not a pretty picture sometimes. So please don't take it upon yourself to go back and watch some of our old videos. Counterintuitive business strategy, but it's for the best. This time last year, you know what I was saying about Luke Fickell? Actually, I shouldn't spoil this because we're going to talk about it later in the show, but I'll just tell you, that Cincinnati team that he had 2 years ago sent 9 guys to the NFL draft. That was the 3rd most out of all of college football. Cincinnati, in the G5 ranks, sent the 3rd most amount of NFL draft picks as anyone did in college football. So he got Phil Longo as his offensive coordinator. He's at Wisconsin now. Oh, you can't overstate how huge that is. I think media rights money, by the way, is reflected in those 2 hires. I'm not sure that Nebraska and Wisconsin would have not been serious enough. I don't question whether you guys are serious. I don't know that kind of commitment and that kind of aggressive on-the-hunt mentality, kind of on-the-prowl mentality in the hiring market would have existed if there wasn't a little nudge in the ribs from the folks who were signing over those massive media rights deals saying, hey, that stuff you're doing at Wisconsin or Iowa or Nebraska, it's not good enough. These networks are not paying just for Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State. We got to be better as a conference, as a league, and that starts with hiring better coaches. And we're all the beneficiary because, yeah, the Big Ten, there's no excuse for it not to be better. It's not quite the ACC, but behind those 2 or 3 lead dogs, there's no excuse for it not to be better. So that's what I'm watching this spring. They are watching us. Sorry about that on the graphic there, Colin. There are the Big Ten title odds. College football playoff odds actually in the Big Ten. Ohio State, I know that you guys are not comfortable with this, but I just want to let you know again, those odds makers, they're at it again. Ohio State's going to be favored to win the conference. Ohio State's going to be favored out of all the teams in the Big Ten to go to the playoff and win the national championship. And you're going to say, that's crazy. They've got to go to Ann Arbor this year. And the odds makers are saying, believe it or not, we know that. We have access to the schedules too. If you disagree with us, place your bets. And some of you have made a lot of money doing that the past 2 years. It's not like they're always right. I mean, and then that gets into the whole philosophical, well, what are odds really meant to do? Reflect the true opinion of Vegas or to split the action in the market? I would suggest a little of both. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure to leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.